Broadcast Row for the Now generation. And now a special presentation from Broadcast Row. Broadcasting live from the greatest city in the world. Wake up. It's time, people, for your morning online gathering. Hosted by Mardel. It's the Wrestling Morning Show. And it starts now.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Wrestling Morning Show. This is Mardel, your host. It's 10 after 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to the program. The number is 844-627-3352. Follow us on Twitter at Live Morning Show. All information you need is on thewrestlingmorningshow.com. What a night last night. Back-to-back go-home shows. SmackDown, not as great as Monday Night Raw. By no means. No, of course not. But a lot of things happened last night. Charlotte Flair became the new SmackDown Women's Champion. And, of course, we saw the greatest of all time, Mr. 16-time Ric Flair, come out. And that was just one of the storylines last night. The retaliation from Monday Night Raw occurred in the last 5 minutes of the show, setting up a pretty good rivalry, I think. If you guys want to comment, shoot me a text. Why not? Shoot me a text. Call me. It's that simple. We're going to go back and kind of refresh in some of your memories from last night, ladies and gentlemen. Now, when the show opened, of course, it was a little bit of a pep rally of sorts going on as Shane O'Mac was holding court last night. Let's go back, refreshing your memory right now.
That's right, that's right. Everybody be pumped up. Be pumped up. Good. Survivor Series is this Sunday. The one night where Raw and SmackDown compete in head-to-head competition.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, again, this SmackDown roster has accomplished what no other SmackDown roster in history has ever done when we went hashtag Raw under siege. We struck first. Now, listen, tonight may be the night Raw retaliates. So everybody's got to be on the same page. Check your egos at the door, and everyone's got to get along and be prepared.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because after this Sunday, we will be known as the dominant brand.
Yes.
We will no longer be called the B Show. We will be called The Show. Now, Becky Lynch, Asuka has gone out and said that she's going to break the entire women's SmackDown team. How do you feel about that?
I feel like the only thing that's going to get broken this Sunday is Asuka's arm.
I want to warn you, a lot of this is very cheesy, by the way, but go ahead and listen.
Baron Corbin, Sin Cara, you guys have a match tonight who will determine who will go on to face The Miz. Are you guys going to finally shut him up?
As far as I'm concerned, The Miz is living on borrowed time. And come Survivor Series, it'll be his end of days.
Yeah, that's it, Baron. Hey, listen up. Hey, listen, Raw is ready to play the game. Jason Jordan is out, and they have put in his place, they have added my brother-in-law, Triple H. Yeah. But don't worry, we have assembled the greatest Survivor Series men's team in history.
Yes, sir.
We are locked and loaded. But we went over the top when we announced the 16-time world champion John Cena will be representing SmackDown. This Sunday, we will be the survivors. Our champions will dominate. And there is nobody, and I mean nobody, that can stop us down. Not Kurt Angle. Not my sister, Stephanie McMahon. and certainly not the Shield.
Yeah, we ain't worried about the Shield. Oh, no. And apparently, they issued us a little challenge.
And we accepted that challenge. But, do y'all know why? Because Smack Down Rocks. 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 Smack Down Rocks.
All right, so that was the opening. We had Shane O'Mac holding court, obviously kind of getting the roster pumped up. They're in Charlotte, North Carolina last night. And, of course, they open in the ring with Daniel Bryan as he comes out. And this entire feud that's been going on for the last 4 or 5 months. Obviously, we haven't seen Daniel Bryan in a very long time. He got attacked when he tried to come on a friendly visit to Monday Night Raw. Got attacked by Kane, as you guys remember. Now, he comes inside the ring here, and, of course, we're going to see AJ Styles in a matter of moments. This entire time watching SmackDown, we do know that, of course, at some point, Raw is going to retaliate. But when? When is this going to happen? And it happens, obviously, toward the end of the show. So what they do is they go and they recap what happened to Daniel Bryan. This is obviously when he forgot to use the light on his smartphone. Getting attacked, obviously, by Kane. And, of course, Daniel Bryan loving the yes chants inside the ring. But let's go and listen to Daniel Bryan. And he also brings out a very special guest in AJ Styles.
It is great to be back on SmackDown Live. And to be honest, after being chokeslammed by Kane, I'm lucky to be standing here. And partially it's my own fault, because I went to Raw without telling anybody, with an open mind, trying to make peace. But I should have known better as soon as I saw Stephanie McMahon that there was a good chance that I wouldn't be walking out on my own 2 legs. But that's the thing about me and about SmackDown Live, is that we don't stay down. You knock us down and we come right back up and hit you twice as hard. And that attitude, that heart, is why Raw is afraid. That's why they added Triple H to their Survivor Series team. And not only are they afraid, but they're also embarrassed. Because the 25th anniversary of Raw is coming up, and SmackDown Live just ransacked Raw. And that's something that I actually didn't agree with, because I know how vindictive Stephanie McMahon can be. And there is a very good chance that tonight, Team Raw will come back and counterattack. But we are not afraid, and we will be ready. And that is why I bleed Team Blue, because I am proud of this show. I am proud of our performers, and I am proud of the heart of every single person in the back. And this Sunday at Survivor Series, we are going to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that SmackDown Live is a far better show, and we have far better performers than Monday Night Raw. Now, with that said, a lot can change in a week. For example, for the last member of our Survivor Series team, SmackDown Live has added John Cena. And also,
It is with my pleasure that I introduce to you the new WWE Champion, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles!
You talk about heart and attitude. Look no further than the new...
Or here comes AJ. I wish he could have been at his hometown, obviously, 2 nights ago when they were in Atlanta, Georgia. But he wasn't. Great energy from the crowd in Charlotte, North Carolina, obviously. Not as good as Atlanta. Raw was one of the best Raws I've seen in months. We talked about it yesterday on the show. If you guys want to chime in, it's 844-627-3352. This is our go-home show. Talking everything about the Survivor Series pay-per-view. Talking everything about SmackDown, Monday Night Raw. We're also going to be discussing Paige. Also, is Shane McMahon hurt? That's a great question, especially after what happened at the very end last night, which we're going to get to in a matter of moments. Now, I do enjoy this right now. We're also going to discuss what is the fate of the WWE title. Now, obviously, there's nothing that will take place besides just an iconic match between Brock Lesnar and AJ Styles. But where does the title go from here? Now, overseas, it's confirmed, and I was also told by Zach Blanton, who is on Twitter, that out of the 2 shows in India, one was canceled. So right now, it's going to be Jinder versus Triple H. Let's go back and listen to some of the audio right now.
Wait. Hold on, AJ. So here on SmackDown Live, we like to treat our champions just as good, if not better, than the champions on Raw. So over on Raw, their champion of the universe has his own personal advocate for Survivor Series. So I would be remiss if I didn't offer to you, just for tonight, do you want your own personal advocate? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Daniel Bryan. And I am the advocate for the reigning, defending, undisputed WWE Champion of the World, the phenomenal AJ Styles!
That was pretty good.
Now, last night, Paul Heyman gave you 5 reasons why you should order the WWE Network in time for this Sunday's Survivor Series, and I agreed with most of them, except for point F5, where he claimed that AJ Styles would be brutalized, victimized, and conquered by the beast incarnate, Brock Lesnar. And I understand why he would think that. Because Brock Lesnar is big and Brock Lesnar is strong. His arms are big, his arms are strong. His legs are big, his legs are strong. His head, it's big, and his head is thick. And although Paul Heyman hates to admit it, Brock Lesnar has a tendency to quit. Just like he quit WWE years ago, just like he quit to a half-ass knee bar on a UFC show. You see, anytime Brock Lesnar is in trouble, anytime he gets uncomfortable, anytime he gets pushed into deep water, Brock Lesnar quits. AJ Styles will push Brock Lesnar into deep waters. And Paul Heyman likes to brag how Brock Lesnar is 6'3" and 285 pounds. Well, guess what? When you get pushed into deep waters, when you're that big, you can last for about 10 minutes. And then you start to drain. And when Brock Lesnar gets tired and all that blood flows away from his brain, away from the rest of his body, he will get tired, he will get uncomfortable, he will be pushed against the wall, and Brock Lesnar will mentally quit. So yes, Brock Lesnar is big and Brock Lesnar is strong, but Brock Lesnar cannot go on and on. He cannot go all night long. He cannot keep up with the phenomenal one. Paul Heyman gave you 5 reasons why you should watch Survivor Series. I'm just gonna give you one. So you can see a 6'3", 285-pound beast mentally beaten, mentally victimized, and mentally conquered for the best in-ring performer of this generation, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles!
Hold on a second. I can't talk. I'm not a puppet like Brock Lesnar. And I agree, fatigue makes quitters of us all, Daniel, and it may well have Brock Lesnar quitting this Sunday. But I also agree with Paul Heyman. I am the underdog. Wouldn't have it any other way. But Paul Heyman, this isn't a Rocky movie. This is an AJ Styles production. And I will find a way. At Survivor Series, I will find a way to the last breath in my body. I will find a way to beat Brock Lesnar. And I will prove that SmackDown Live is the A show. That SmackDown Live is the house that AJ Styles built.
I'm actually loving this. And once again, we've talked about this in past shows. We don't really need a build between AJ and Brock Lesnar because it's AJ and Brock Lesnar. Very simple. Join the program, ladies and gentlemen, recapping SmackDown, some of the audio from last night. 844-627-3352. That's 844-627-3352. We talked about it, ladies and gentlemen, that Charlotte Flair took on Natalya. You guys know this. It's not a surprise. And, of course, Charlotte wins. There's a lot of speculation, of course, that Charlotte was going to win. And she did. And it was a pretty good match, by the way. These guys, Charlotte and Natalya, have had a nice, long history where they've wrestled, even though Charlotte has not been a wrestler for a very long time. But it was a fantastic match. And finally, we criticize this all the time. We criticize this all the time where the women on SmackDown really have nothing to do. And I cannot tell you the last time there was even mention of the champion actually wrestling anybody, to be honest. It really has been the same cat and mouse game this entire time, where the women are backstage, they bicker, they argue, and they get put into a 3-on-3, a fatal 5-way, a fatal 4-way, and really there's no heat, no competition, no nothing. But last night, Obviously, there was. And Charlotte wins, and it was a great match. And right when it was done, of course, she talks to the crowd. And, I mean, she's a little emotional.
Ever since the Superstar shakeup from Raw to SmackDown, this is all I have wanted every single day. Seriously, this is what I work 24/7 for. It took a lot longer than I thought, but to win in my hometown means everything. So this Sunday, thank you. So this Sunday, I'm gonna walk into Survivor Series and I'm gonna make Alexa Bliss bow down to the Queen. Because, sweetheart, there was a Queen of Raw before there was a goddess. And I will win for Team Blue. But most importantly, all of you know that my dad, for the last couple months, has had a really hard time. And especially growing up in Charlotte, I know you guys have seen the ups, the downs, and how far we've come as a family. And I know my dad couldn't be here tonight, but I know he's at home watching SmackDown like he does every single Tuesday. And I know I'm gonna go to the back and I'm gonna get a text message that says, I love you with all my heart, Winky, you're the GOAT. I love you, Dad. This was for you tonight. Woo!
There was genuine excitement and emotion from Charlotte, and I tell you what, nobody wanted to see Natalya versus Alexa. It would have been a throwaway match. Now we're going to see two of the best female superstars go at it right now, without a doubt. So this just adds the cherry on top. Let's go and continue to listen to this audio as we get a special guest, as I mentioned.
The Queen, she's got to be up.
Nature Boy comes out. They say it was a surprise that obviously they didn't know, but of course they knew. They did not know where your father is. Actually, maybe some people listening don't. Okay, this is getting weird. It was great to see Ric Flair finally the return in Charlotte, North Carolina, the favorite son of Charlotte, and he's there. He lost a lot of weight, as you guys know. From what I understand, he lost like 40 to 50 pounds, and that's customary when you're dealing with that type of situation. When you're obviously in the hospital, you're in bed rest, you're not moving at all. Of course, he's not eating whatsoever. But then in a lot of the press interviews that he did for the Nature Boy documentary, he mentioned how he gained weight. Sorry, he's continuing to gain weight, which is nice. If you just joined us, welcome to the program. It is 9:34 Eastern Standard Time. Call the show, 844-627-3352. Follow us on Twitter at Live Morning Show. And you guys know when this show goes off the air, if you can't listen live, which the goal is for you guys to listen live. We talked about this all the time. You can follow us on demand at iTunes, Google Play, Spreaker, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. So, as of now, this is what the card looks like, and it's gotten even better. Enzo Amore and Kalisto, they're going to be part of the kickoff show. We're going to have The Miz. He's going to take on Baron Corbin. IC champ versus U.S. champ. We're going to have The Shield take on the New Day. This rivalry is getting nice. I enjoy this. Obviously, if you listen to the program, I told you originally I couldn't wait for the Shield versus the Usos originally. This has been one of the first times. This will be the first time that Roman Reigns would actually wrestle with it against his cousins. But this obviously makes a little more sense. 3-on-3. Raw Tag Champions Cesaro and Sheamus take on the SmackDown Tag Champions, Usos versus The Bar. I'm excited about that one. That's going to be great wrestling. The Raw's Women's Champion, Alexa Bliss, takes on Charlotte Flair. Very excited about this. Alexa Bliss, as you know, since day one on the show, we've been talking about somebody who's been was an afterthought. Really an afterthought. She was an afterthought. Don't tell me you thought she had this great potential in NXT. I mean, she did, obviously, but not a great potential. And when they were going through this entire women's revolution, they pretty much gave her the microphone, and she made the very best of it, overshadowing all the fan favorites, overshadowing anybody we thought could be the future of that division. She is the future of the division, and she's the champion, a much-deserved champion. And the same sentiment with Charlotte. Now, finally, with the fact that Charlotte won, I could finally probably see my dream matchup that occurred for about 2 seconds, and there was interference, if you guys remember. We could finally see the first ever Charlotte versus Naomi match. Once again, they had it scheduled, and there was interference at the time. So that's one reason I love the fact that Charlotte is champion. Now, Charlotte's obviously going to continue with this face character, but she's so good as a heel. That would be something to see. If there would be any type of change I'd like to do with Alexa versus Charlotte, it would be heel versus heel. Alexa is so over. Charlotte is really just as talented as anybody all around. So I'm excited about that. Let's move on to the rest of that card. And, of course, we have the women's traditional 5-on-5 with Team Raw captain Alicia Fox, Nia Jax, Asuka, Sasha, and Bayley. Bayley was obviously the 5th member added. Now, Team SmackDown, this continues to get interesting. Becky Lynch, team captain, Carmella, Naomi, Tamina, and they still have not announced the 5th participant. Who could that possibly be? This is what everybody is talking about, possibly having the addition of Paige. As you know, if you listen to the program, or if you're ever on the internet, speculations for a couple weeks that Paige was going to actually come back and be on television, possibly be part of Survivor Series. Thus far, that has not happened. But pictures have surfaced that she has been hanging out when they've been traveling. She was pictured famously in Atlanta. Now, if I was her, I would probably try to hide a little bit because there is an anticipation and excitement for Paige to come back. As you know, and I mentioned this yesterday on the program, and I think I have a valid point. I'm curious what you guys think. During this whole women's revolution, which I think, and I'm not trying to be negative about it, has jumped the shark, really. I mean, you could watch SmackDown and realize there is no revolution. There's not even matches. There's no competition. During the heyday of this revolution, obviously, which was probably 8 months worth, there were times they were on top of the hour segments for Raw and SmackDown. On occasion, closing the show. There's at least 2 segments dedicated to matches. Now, even that may happen, obviously, on Raw because it's a 3-hour show. It's not happening on SmackDown. Talent is still there, but there was so much fatigue, I think, when it came to your usual suspects of Becky, Bayley, Sasha, and still the crowd loves them to this day, don't get me wrong. But what's happened now is these opportunities have been given to some heroes, unlikely suspects. Alexa Bliss is dominated. She's like, okay, look, I'm not taking a back seat to this. I think the future for Nia Jax is unbelievable, and that's going to pay off very soon. I wish they didn't have to tell the world that her and Alexa are truly best friends. So when they actually get in a feud, we're not going to believe it. That's the only problem I have. And kayfabe's been dead. I can't believe we use these terminologies to this day. But if you want to, for the smarks out there, kayfabe has been dead. Maybe 20 years. But every year it just gets eroded. If there was any string left to kayfabe, it's pretty much cut. And I think one of the last final nail in the coffin had to be Total Divas, Total Bellas, where truly that was it. I mean, that was fully behind that curtain. You knew who everybody was dating. You knew who was best friends with everybody. Back in the day, a photo. Oh my God, what are they doing together? A photo. Big things are going to happen with Nia Jax. I'm a huge fan. I still think she is also, it could be a great role model. Not everybody looks like Alexa Bliss or Charlotte or Sasha or Bayley or Lana. A lot of women out there will gravitate to people like Nia Jax. And I think she could be a hero for a lot of young ladies out there. And I think that's something they should definitely think about and invest very soon. Now, to make it worth it, they're really going to have to do a very good storyline. Maybe former best friends feuding against each other. I don't know. But there's a lot of ways to play it on. So who is that fifth person on Team SmackDown? I figured it would probably be the loser of the Charlotte-Natalya match would probably make it Natalya. It would suck if Natalya goes from champion and then 4 days later, she's not even on the card. But then there could be Paige. Now, I think for television purposes, I think everyone's going to be tuning in to Survivor Series. Don't get me wrong. But saving Paige and possibly having her debut the Monday after Survivor Series, that's probably the right thing to do. Let's not waste it on being the fifth person, getting lost in the shuffle with 9 other women. Let's talk about Team Raw, the men. Team SmackDown, the men. Kurt Angle, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, and Triple H. SmackDown. Team captain Shane O'Mac, who was hurt, appeared to be out of it. Now, of all the wrestlers that we know that really could put their body on the line, take a bump, and bounce back, it's Shane O'Mac. But he got hurt. Does he get replaced? Shane O'Mac, Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, Shinsuke Nakamura, and John Cena. We talked to Coder about this yesterday on the program, and have you seen a better stacked 5-on-5 in history? There has not been one. 2 reasons. One, all these guys that I mentioned usually were pretty much on one-on-one terms during this pay-per-view. Not to mention a lot of these guys were not around. Samoa Joe, what a great career he's had. Triple H, he's an icon. First ballot Hall of Famer, but, you know, he's a Levesque McMahon. We don't know how that's going to go. Randy Orton, 13-time champion. John Cena could go down as one of the greatest of all time. Shinsuke Nakamura could go down as one of the greatest of all time, especially overseas. Bobby Roode, one hell of a career. Braun Strowman, nobody's more over than this guy. And then you got Finn Balor, who's definitely one of the future stars in this business. And he was a star a long time overseas. And out of all these guys to really come in, with the exception of AJ, really just click with the casual fans, it's Finn Balor. I talk a lot about the casual fans. And when I say casual fans, first of all, they're not listening to this program. But they are very important and integral to the success of WWE. These are the people that, well, they could be the parents of the kids who watch. And, of course, the parents are going to watch with them. Who's this Finn Balor? They don't know about his Prince Devitt career overseas. Oh, who's this Samoa Joe? They're not watching TNA or did watch TNA back in the day, even when TNA was decent. These are possibly the parents. These are also possibly the wrestling fans out there who sadly only watch maybe SmackDown and Raw maybe twice a month, once a month. They'll catch some recaps on YouTube. The casual fan that will also maybe have the network because they love the archives of the past. They will tune in to 3-4 pay-per-views a year. Those are the casual fans. The fans I'm talking to now, they're not casual fans. Wrestling is a way of life for them. And wrestling, for the fans that I'm talking to right now, it's probably their favorite show. It's probably what they look forward to all week. If they believe in a sport, this is probably their sport. I'm excited that Conor's going to join us. He may even join us a little bit early today, as a matter of fact. Okay, so we're back, everybody. It's 844-627-3352. It's 10 past the hour of 10 o'clock Eastern. You heard some of the highlights from the beginning of the show. We got a lot of things to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about the card. We're going to dissect that, talk a little SmackDown. More importantly, we got a very special guest on the line for one of my favorite segments of the show.
It's the Code Break with Brent Coder.
So, Coder, how are you, my friend? How's your morning going?
So far, so good. A little early to tell, but so far, so good, man.
Okay. A couple things. Let's get right into it right now. Last night, it finally happened, the retaliation from Monday Night Raw, and they came in full force. It started with the Shield. And, by the way, tell me you didn't pop when KO and Sami just left. Tell me that wasn't awesome. That was brilliant.
It was great. I actually thought they'd be a bigger part of the show, so I was a little disappointed in that. I mean, obviously we got a little bit of a match out of them, and then they bailed when the whole invasion from Raw, came to fruition. But I did pop. I thought that was pretty funny that they bailed. Of course they would. I don't know what this means for them for the Survivor Series, though. I still expect them to get involved in the match, in the 5-way match. But we didn't get really much more storyline development with those two last night.
We're all right. I do believe there's going to come a time where we're going to see them. And not only are we going to see them, I think they're going to make a major impact, to be honest with you. So we'll see when it comes to that. I could also see them ruining the entire experience for SmackDown. By the way, did you notice that Shane O'Mac, even though his entire career he's made from steel, do you think he's hurt? Do you think storyline-wise he's hurt, or is they're just too invested to even try to replace him?
I don't know. I didn't think he was actually hurt. I think he was just doing a great job of selling, and he's made a career of doing that. So in my mind, he's okay. It was just really selling the fact that he could be hurt, but no, I think he'll be there. Regardless if he is hurt or whatever, he'll be there. At this point, with all the build-up, he's almost got to be. So he'll find a way. But I don't think he's really hurt.
Well, I tell you what, a couple things, too, to come out of last night. Charlotte Flair in Charlotte, North Carolina. She wins. More importantly, first of all, you called it. You said she was going to win. More importantly, we saw the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. It was great to see him. Now, obviously, if you followed the documentary, you saw him every second on television promoting that documentary. But it was great to see Ric Flair, who's synonymous with Charlotte, North Carolina, especially when it comes to wrestling. Great to see him. Looks like he's getting healthier, which is awesome. More importantly, we arguably take two of the very best females and we put them together, and we get to see Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte. Just another cherry on top to this great card. Is there excitement from you when it comes to this?
Oh, for sure. This is definitely the matchup I wanted to see. Can't wait to see Charlotte versus Alexa, two of the top performers in all of women's wrestling, even the WWE. These are very talented women, and it should be an excellent match. I love seeing Ric Flair. I watched a couple of clips, actually, after the show last night, and it appeared to be an actual surprise. Charlotte did not really expect him to be there. Obviously, his music hit. He came out. She ran to him. and just kind of a special moment. But he surprised her. You know, that's the way they were talking about it. Afterwards, it seemed to be genuine, but you know, it's wrestling, so who knows? But either way, a special moment. Anytime we get Ric Flair on the program, especially after the past month or so that he's had, just a special moment for him to see Charlotte win yet another title.
Let me ask you some philosophical questions, Coder. And I was thinking about this last night. Due to the fact that, well, Hulk Hogan simply is banned from WWE. I don't know if there's another word, taking time off, whatever you want to call it. Do you think with this generation now that, well, I mean, a very young generation, let's say when do you start falling in love with wrestling? 7, 8, 9, I don't know, maybe even younger. When you start to understand it, maybe 10, 11. Do you think, and when they talk about the greatest of all time, much like with baseball, you know who Babe Ruth is, you know who DiMaggio is. I don't know why I'm mentioning all Yankees. You know Stan Musial is. Actually, a lot of people, Stan Musial is probably the most underrated baseball player of all time. He's probably one of the greatest of all time. But anyway, regardless, what I'm trying to say is, do you think for younger kids, that when they say who is the greatest of all time, this generation of the last 5 or 6 years of kids growing up understanding wrestling, you think they'll say Ric Flair? Or you think they'll say Hulk Hogan? I find that a very interesting question. You may think it's kind of stupid, but what do you think?
Well, no, I mean, if you're a 7 or 8, even 10-year-old kid right now, you're probably referring to Ric Flair as Charlotte's dad. You might recognize the fact that he was formerly a great wrestler, but they're likely not going back and watching his old matches, you know. For these kids nowadays, in their mind, it's probably John Cena or Randy Orton if he was their favorite. I don't even know, you know, how much play Hulk Hogan would have with that crowd. But, you know, they're more than likely, I would say, to say Hogan versus Flair. Flair was more of a, you know, Hogan was the kids' champion back in the day when I was growing up, and Flair was more of the smart fans' champion, a little bit older demo that was into Flair and somewhere into both. I was fortunate enough to grow up at an age where I could appreciate them both. You know, I knew what Hogan was doing for the WWE, bringing in kids and really, you know, extending their brand. But, you know, I was watching Ric Flair wrestling at the Chase back then.
Of course.
You know, the older adults in my life were big fans of Flair and hated Hogan. You know, and so me being a Hogan fan as well, you know, I would get some heat from them just for cheering for Hogan because most of the adults back then didn't like Hogan and they were huge fans of Flair, at least in my circles.
Well, yeah, you know, and it's the fact that I've never seen Babe Ruth, but I can recognize Babe Ruth as the greatest baseball player of all time. Just those type of scenarios. A lot of people have never seen Joe Montana or Jerry Rice. Those two could be the greatest of all time. But I just, you know, in the last couple of years, there has to be somebody they recognize as the greatest of all time. And since Hogan, you know, he's not really accepted right now, I'm just curious about those kids. I don't know why we got into this tangent, but, and the one thing is you can go back to YouTube, you can go back to the WWE Network and realize why Flair is one of the greatest. Sorry, Flair is the greatest, and so is Hogan. I mean, these two guys, that's always been the question mark. And I was just thinking about that last night, thinking about who do they recognize as the greatest. But let's go back and talk about this Survivor Series. Charlotte, Alexa, and I'm thinking now the demographic has changed, and I enjoy it. And now all eyes, this is stacked. This is completely stacked. Now we could go over this card, sure, but now I'm starting to think, 2 question marks right here. The SmackDown Women's, they have Becky Lynch, Carmella, Naomi, Tamina, and still someone to be announced. Are they going to waste Paige and let her be the 5th person to join, which would just obviously put the cherry on top of this entire pay-per-view? Or do you think it's more realistic she'll show up the Monday after, if she shows up at all?
Right now, you know, if I'm a bet man, I'm going to say that she's going to show up at Survivor Series and be the 5th for Team SmackDown. But maybe the smarter move would be to put her on Raw where she was, and bring her back on Monday. They have more time with the women's division on Raw. Would really give her a better chance, to see more of her, to have her, involved in better storylines, because they just have an extra hour there to work with in the women's division. And to be honest, the SmackDown women's division is pretty crowded for a 2-hour show. They don't get a lot of love, and we end up seeing just a bunch of, as we've talked about, 4-way, 5-way, 3-way matches, and the bickering backstage. So I'm hoping she ends up on Raw, but it certainly looks like we're going to see her at Survivor Series as the 5th for Team SmackDown.
Are you booking that? Is that 100%? Is that a code? Is that a code or guarantee?
Let's guarantee it. Yeah, I think we can guarantee it at this point. Who else could it be? It's got to be Paige. And
it also could be Natalia. But go ahead. Unfortunately, yes.
Sure. I'll go with Paige. If they're going to have a surprise here, it's not going to be Natalia. So for my money, I'm going to go with Paige as being the 5th here. Guarantee it.
Wow. Okay. I'm glad I'm recording this. So the thing is, what's unfortunate is Natalia literally was the champion last night. Lost. Now she's not even part of the show. That kind of hurts. That kind of stings. Okay, let's move on to some other things. One thing that we talked about this, probably the one thing we've talked about more than anything, not only on the show, but through conversations on the phone, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and what part they play. I can only imagine they're there to cause chaos for Team SmackDown. Would you agree? And if you agree, in what way?
Well, I totally agree, and I think we'll see them get involved in this match. They're probably going to end up getting either Shane and or Randy Orton eliminated, in my mind. They're going to help with a couple of different eliminations. I think they'll get involved at some point, ultimately costing. I think Shane would be the first target, but we've also seen a little bit on Twitter over the last few days, Kevin Owens and Randy Orton going back and forth a little bit. So, maybe it's, if I was to bet on two guys that they would help get eliminated, it would be those two.
Yeah, I would agree on that. All right, so let's move on and talk about last night again. Your boy Baron Corbin. If you guys don't know, if you're listening to the program, Coder's a huge Baron Corbin fan. I mean, literally. The only person I know actually has a Baron Corbin t-shirt. That's how much of a fan he is. No, joking. He hates Baron Corbin. I actually think he has potential, maybe not so much as a heel, but he's getting a lot better, I think, at least with his mic skills and his in-ring ability. We saw a title match last night. He was definitely, I didn't think anything of it, but Corbin he went ahead and won, so he takes on The Miz. This is great for Baron Corbin Sunday night, which I'm excited about. Also last night, did you feel that opening pep rally? Was that just, not only was it staged, but how hokey? I felt it was hokey and cheesy. Your opinions?
Oh, it was absolutely hokey and cheesy. I don't think it did anything but make him look a little silly. And in fact, you had Sin Cara standing right next to Baron Corbin
right.
While they're cheering on the brand as these guys are going to go compete for the title later on, which did nothing to promote that bout. But one of the funniest things, and if you go back and watch it, Kevin Owens is in the back of the room, and he's just, while everybody else is cheering, dancing around, acting stupid, he's just got this smirk on his face.
Yeah.
He's just
no, I noticed that, yeah.
Some people on Twitter really zoomed in way in the back of the room, and you can just see Kevin's face back there as all the shenanigans are going on.
Oh, that was awesome.
It was super cheesy, unnecessary, and did nothing really.
Well, it seemed like they all got the memo, the email. Listen, call time is 2:00. 3:30, we're going to go film something. So, that was super cheesy, and I'm like, oh, God, is this how it's going to start? And then we move right along. Daniel Bryan becomes the advocate for AJ Styles last night. I enjoyed that when those two guys, two of the best in-ring performers of their generation, they're inside the ring. And, of course, he's the advocate for AJ Styles. And really, I've said this before. I said it earlier in the program today. I said it yesterday. There doesn't really need to be a build. All you got to say, it's AJ versus Brock Lesnar. That's it. I'm thoroughly excited about two champions. And even if they didn't have the belts, it's Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles. Even though I do believe the modern day Maharaja is going to play a big part in this. So how excited are you for this? And is the Maharaja, will he actually make an impact in this situation?
Well, I'm definitely excited about this match. Obviously, a dream matchup, a WrestleMania main event worthy match that we're going to get at Survivor Series. So I don't know any wrestling fan that wouldn't be excited about this matchup. As far as the Maharaja,
actually, Coder, I can think of 1.3 billion people who probably are not excited about this. Go ahead. Yes.
Well, that's a good point. The folks in India may not be as happy as some of us here, but as far as the Maharaja getting involved, I don't know. I can't see a definitive clean finish for this match.
No.
Both guys, obviously just being elite superstars, it would be hard to see a clean finish here. And it would be hard to imagine this is the last time we ever see this match, provided that everything goes accordingly and they both do what they do in the ring. So could the Maharaja get involved? Certainly. And if they're going to set up a match that would potentially go down in India where he'd be getting the title back or at least competing for the title, I would certainly expect him to be involved in some way. He was the one that was supposed to face Brock, so he's got a history with both of these guys over the past month, and so it's certainly a possibility because I just don't see a clean finish here.
Well, what I found, first of all, they're going to India in a couple weeks. And originally, they were supposed to have a couple nights, and I heard one of the shows got canceled. Now, I have not confirmed. This is hearsay, so please do not quote me if you're listening to the program. Obviously, he's billed that Jinder's going to take on Triple H. And then I assumed that he would take on AJ Styles. So I don't think it's going to happen in India. I kind of feel bad. They invested all this time, all this money, and really was gearing the attention of the 1.3 billion people. Every one of the 1.3 billion people obviously have the network. But now I think it's going to be reserved for the rematch at Night of Champions. And I'm still a firm believer that the big payoff is going to be AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal at the Royal Rumble. And I'm still going to commit to this, that Nakamura wins the Royal Rumble. So I'm just saying that right now. It's kind of disappointing. I'm not going to lie. I would have loved to see this in India, a champion coming and seeing what the Indian crowd. I'm fascinated by this. It's sometimes when you watch the Americans go to Japan, it's fascinating to see a different culture. It's something different, at least for me. Do they stand? Do they cheer? What do they do? Are there certain chants? I don't know. Do they even care about wrestling? Is it all about cricket? I don't know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Wrestling Morning Show. We have Coder on the program for the Code Break. Follow him at CodeRock874. We finally got some of the audio set. It's fixed. Had a problem early on. 844-627-3352. That's 844-627-3352. Call or text the program. Okay, so anything else from SmackDown last night you would like to talk about that kind of stuck out for you?
I mean, that was really it. I think the highlight was Charlotte and Ric Flair. Obviously, we had the invasion from Raw. I think everybody saw that coming. They had to retaliate after being attacked, being under siege just a few weeks ago. So totally expected there. And when we didn't see it, you knew it was coming at the very end. And so, not a total surprise there. They really got the best of the SmackDown roster, maybe even more so than SmackDown did to them by the end of it. They took care of Shane O'Mac. The girls took care of the other girls in the back. One of the things that I did want to bring up, though, is something that we talked about yesterday, and that is this the greatest 5-on-5 match? Meaning the competitors in the match.
The talent, yeah.
So I did some research,
Well, we don't do research on here, but go ahead.
Well, I know you don't have a research budget. We'll have to work that out later. I did spend some time researching.
Actually, Coder, let me correct you. We have no budget whatsoever, but go ahead. Actually, our only budget is for coffee and cigarettes. Go ahead.
So I did some freelance work last night.
Yeah, some pro bono.
Here's what I came up with. Here is the best 5-on-5 that I was able to find, and this wasn't extensive research because, as you mentioned, you have no budget.
This is nice. So go ahead.
This was what I was able to find in the matter of about, 30, 40 minutes of looking online through 5-on-5s in the history of the WWE. And this one really stood out. Back in 2001, at the Survivor Series, we had a team of, and these are all either Hall of Famers or potential Hall of Famers in some cases, or without a doubt in some cases. We had, in 2001 Survivor Series, The Rock, Chris Jericho, The Undertaker, Kane, and The Big Show versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, Kurt Angle, Booker T, Shane McMahon, and Rob Van Dam.
Wow.
I mean, that's a pretty epic 5-on-5. I mean, just about every one of those guys is a potential WWE Hall of Famer, if they aren't already. I'm not sure in Rob Van Dam's case or, Shane McMahon obviously is, being a part of the company if they would make it, but just about everybody else on that list is a surefire or already in the Hall of Fame. So I don't remember the match exactly. It was 16 years ago. I didn't actually go back and watch it, but certainly on paper, that is a hell of a card with those 10 people involved in a match.
First of all, thank you for the research. I seriously, we're talking about, first of all, the Rock, Undertaker, Austin. That's it. Those three guys alone are arguably, when you talk about the greatest of all time, we've had this discussion leading up to the Ric Flair documentary of that Mount Rushmore. And these guys, I mean, Austin is usually one of the three always mentioned. You put Rock on your top four, and then you have Undertaker. And then, of course, there's Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle. And Booker T's a Hall of Famer. You have Shane O'Mac. This is very interesting. This is actually, I'm going to tell you this because of your research. I am going to put this up on Twitter, probably to get the most attention. I'll do this right before the pay-per-view on Sunday, and let everyone listening, everybody out there in the Twitter world, vote what is better, this year or 2001. Very good job. I appreciate that. And I'm actually looking at the card right now. The show opens with Just Incredible, Lance Storm and Raven defeating Albert, Scotty 2 Hotty, and Spike Dudley. Okay. Then there's some other. Wow, I'm just looking at this right now. This is a pretty interesting card. So, and then there's the 6-pack challenge for the Women's Championship. I might have to go back and watch this. Trish, Ivory, Jazz, Jacqueline, Lita, and Mighty Molly. Very good research, by the way. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah,
so, yeah. That's very interesting. That 2001, and it's amazing that there's actually 2 competitors from 2001 in this year's competition. That's awesome. All right, let's now talk and break down some of these matches. Let's go with Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. First of all, there's obviously no titles on the line except for bragging rights. Do we just see something clean that goes on between Alexa and Charlotte?
Well, we're going to have to get some clean matches for sure. So, I would peg this as one where we could potentially see it go down clean. You know, if are we making our picks? Because if I'm a betting man, I'm going to go with Charlotte on this one. Not to take anything from Alexa, definitely one of my favorites. You know, both of these girls I'm big fans of, but I'm going to go with Charlotte with the momentum right now, with the pedigree, and with a little bit more experience than Alexa. And Charlotte would be my pick to go over Queen here.
All right, I'm going with Alexa Bliss. I think the momentum with Alexa is unbelievable. It continues to flourish, that momentum. And I think there's some people who are gunning for Charlotte to begin with, so we'll see. I mean, this also could be a factor where Paige comes out. You never know what's going to happen. We still don't know what's going on with Paige. This is also a pay-per-view coder that normally there's one or two mega matches. But here, I mean, which one am I most excited about? Now with this Alexa Charlotte, I'm as excited about this one as I am with some of the other big ones. But let's move on. Shield versus the New Day. Once again, these are all these competitors really don't need it. But somebody has to win. So, Shield versus the New Day. I think with the momentum and the fact that the Shield is still fresh, I think the Shield goes over in this one. And none of these competitions I could imagine, except for a few of them, are going to be absolutely clean. But I'm going to go with the Shield versus New Day. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I got to go with the Shield here too. You know, their first, true match back together after Reigns being out for a while. I don't think the New Day needs a win here. I think this one's definitely going to the Shield, and I expect an awesome match, from both teams, as we've seen recently with the New Day and Uso feud. I would expect everything and more here out of this match.
All right, another match that hopefully it's going to be just good old wrestling. Cesaro, Sheamus versus the Usos. Once again, there's nothing really on the line besides who's probably a better team. I think we'll go with the momentum of the Usos on this one, at least in my opinion, the Usos. I love Cesaro. I love Sheamus. I even love the Usos, especially this new incarnation. So I'm going with the Usos.
I'll go with Sheamus and Cesaro here just to pick a little different than you.
Okay.
I think this one could go either way. So I'll go with Sheamus and Cesaro here.
All right, so now we have the women's 5-on-5. This is definitely something I could probably care less about because I have not been excited about this women's division in a while, unfortunately, except for some of the champions and some of the competitors. But this could really, first of all, I could see one of two things going on. This could be an 8-minute match, or they could actually reinvigorate this entire division. I think this is extremely important for them if they're smart and give them the time, 15 to 20 minutes, to really do something special here. But because I think they have favorites like Sasha and Bayley and Asuka, I think I'm going with Team Raw here.
I'll go with Team SmackDown here. I think if we do see Paige's return, that I would expect her to have a large impact and maybe help steal the win at the end. So I'll take Team SmackDown here.
I think the crowd would definitely pop if they saw Paige in the ring with Asuka. I wouldn't mind seeing that one. All right, but I do think Team Raw, I think they need to revitalize Raw. It's a 3-hour show and the women in there. And by the way, I'm happy for Alicia Fox. She's team captain. Should be. She's been there longer than anybody. Okay, so now we go to the Intercontinental Championship. The champion, Miz versus the U.S. champion, Baron Corbin. I mean, I could also see them doing the right thing and putting Corbin over. But look, the Miz Taraj is going to be there. They're not going to let the Miz lose. And I think it's important for the Miz to win, especially against somebody like Baron Corbin. I could see this being a situation where Baron Corbin is not going to get buried by no means. It's going to be either a very cheap win, interference, disqualification. But so, having said that, I think the Miz goes over.
Yeah, I think I'm with you here. You know, obviously I'm a huge Miz fan and not a fan of Corbin, so it would be what I would expect and hope to see. So I'll go with the Miz here. I think you're right. I think we'll see probably a good showing by Corbin. They're not going to bury him, but the Miz will get the win with some sort of heel antics involved, whether the Miztourage gets involved or, you know, he uses the tights or a low blow or whatever the case. I think the Miz comes out on top here with a win, though not clean.
Okay, Enzo versus Kalisto, they're going to be part of the kickoff. I think it's Enzo. I like the momentum of Enzo. I think it's time to move on from Kalisto. So I think he needs to go back to the drawing board and still be Kalisto. Don't get me wrong, but build up the anticipation for him, build up the crowd kind of falling back in love with him. So I'm going with Enzo on this, regardless of how he wins. And obviously he's surrounding himself with people like Drew Gulak. So I'm going with Enzo on this. And
yeah, I mean, it's really hard for me to argue for Kalisto to get a win here. I think Enzo is one of the cornerstones of the cruiserweight division, and I would expect him to get the win here.
Brock Lesnar, AJ Styles, champion versus champion. I already gave you my thoughts about this. I think we're going to see Jinder Mahal, and it's going to cost AJ Styles. And that's why I think Lesnar goes over. Or it's just a flat-out DQ. But AJ Styles does not... it's going to be a DQ in my opinion. I think it's just going to be a disqualification. It's going to be a shame. Because the other ladder would be that Brock goes over and actually wins. Nobody's winning clean. But I think Jinder is going to cost AJ the title. Your thoughts? Sorry. Not the title. My bad. Sorry, I'm just used to force of habit when I see champion in front of the name. Go ahead.
Yeah, no titles on the line, but, still a great match here. And, I'm going to go with AJ. That's who I'm hoping pulls it out. Whether Jinder gets involved or not, I really, would love to see AJ get the win here. I think he could use it. I don't know that Brock Lesnar needs it. I don't see it happening cleanly, however, so I'm not sure exactly how it'll go down, whether it's a DQ, count out, or something like that. But I'll go with AJ here, and, just really looking forward to an awesome match. And I hope it's not too much hijinks. One of the reasons that I feel like AJ to get the win here is, we're talking about the WWE Championship and the story, the history of it. So for him to lose to Lesnar would be a big thing, right? To put the Raw Universal Championship above the WWE Champion hasn't been seen, and I would not expect to see that. So I'm going to go with AJ.
Okay, so finally, the last match, Team Raw versus Team SmackDown. Captain Kurt, Braun, Finn, Samoa Joe, Triple H versus Team SmackDown, Shane, Randy, Bobby Roode, Shinsuke, and Cena. I'm a firm believer. I'm going with Team Raw on this one. I love everybody on Team SmackDown. But the fact that Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, out for blood, and they have pure hatred for Shane McMahon, they're going to cost him this. And I think they'll cost him at the final second. But I think it's going to be an awesome match. So I'm going with Team Raw.
Well, I mean, that's certainly a likely scenario, and I'm not real sure where this goes. I definitely think we'll see Kevin Owens and Sami involved in some way. They could simply help get a couple people eliminated from SmackDown and not ultimately be, the deciders of the match. They could just be a part of it. With SmackDown still having 3 people left, if they were to help a couple people get eliminated. I mean, there's so many different things that could happen here. They could also help Team SmackDown win in some way, get involved and help them win, and then be able to hold that over Shane McMahon's head for the next month.
Excellent point.
Responsible for making them win. So with Raw getting the last word last night with their invasion of SmackDown. Generally, whoever gets the best of the other competitor right before the pay-per-view ends up losing.
True.
For that reason, I'm going to go with Team SmackDown here for the win over Team Raw. And the potential of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn actually helping SmackDown win and then rubbing it in Shane O'Mac's face for the next month, which I think would make for great television. And maybe a little bit too expected for them to cost SmackDown the win.
Wow. Okay. Excellent point. I already made my decision of Raw. I can't jump on your bandwagon now, but you're 100% right. You brought some clarity to this. I think that is a great scenario. Well, Coder, I tell you what, this is a phenomenal Survivor Series. Please don't let it bomb. I hope it does not bomb. I mean, I think it's bomb. Is it bomb-proof? Dare we say it's bomb-proof?
I mean, it certainly looks like that on paper. I don't know how this could bomb. You've got some exceptional matchups. We talked about one of the greatest 5-on-5 matches in history, and just a lot of talent throughout the lineup. So I don't see how this is bombed.
I don't either. All right, Coder, I know you got to run. And I tell you what, we're going to be keeping in touch. We'll probably have maybe a special edition of our show dedicated to Survivor Series the day of. Coder, I appreciate the last couple of days. We brought a lot of clarity to what's going on, I think, in the state of the WWE. That wasn't even our intention, but I think we did. So I appreciate that. And also want to remind you, and for everybody listening out there, the McRib is back at McDonald's. Are you a McRib fan?
No, I'm not. I missed that. So.
Sorry.
I'm a fan of...
First of all, have you...
When those come back for a limited time, I'm all about those. But
you're a fan. I'm sorry, what comes back?
The Shamrock Shake, man. Come on. Every March.
Oh. So wait a minute. Have you ever tried a McRib?
Don't just owe the Shamrock Shake. I mean, come on. That needs to be a Twitter poll. Are you more excited about the McRib or the Shamrock Shake when it's a limited time only?
Have you ever had a McRib?
No, I have not.
What? Okay, that's my next quest. I got to turn you on to the McRib. It's either pure heaven or disgusting. There's no way around it. You have to try a McRib. Especially, they'll probably have it now until maybe for the next couple weeks. They always do this every couple of years during this time where everybody's depressed. So, okay, Coder, thank you so much for everything, and I'll try to convince you to get a McRib, and maybe we could talk about that. That could be some other research we can do. Coder tries his first McRib. Actually, that would be a great video.
We need to get McDonald's to sponsor the show. They're getting all these plugs and everything. Give us a call, McDonald's.
Yes, McDonald's, if you'd like to sponsor the show, or I'll get a letter, of course, emailed to me saying, please do not mention our products on your show. One of the two things. Appreciate the love for the McRib, but just don't talk about us. All right, Coder, thank you so much, and I'm excited for Sunday, brother. Thank you.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you Sunday.
All right, bye-bye.
It's the Code Break with Brent Coder.
Okay, that was the Code Break with Brent Coder. It's always great to have Coder on the program. Always enjoyable. Follow him at Code Rock 874. That's Code Rock 874 on Twitter, or visit his website, CodeRockStreetwear.com. They have items on there. Let me just say they're couture. So what he does is he makes like 50 items of hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, whatever. And that's it. So you're not going to run into anybody who will ever have this type of apparel, especially if you love hats. His hats on there, second to none. So visit that. I also always appreciate Coder for being part of this. Wow. Okay. So this was a lot of show today, and I appreciate it. And we put a lot of stuff in perspective. Man, I tell you what, I got to give it up for Coder on that one, because Coder actually brought up a good point. I thought, just to gain heat, that KO Sami would hurt the cause. I wasn't smart enough to think they would help the cause and hold it over the heads of Daniel Bryan and Shane O'Mac. This is going to be a great pay-per-view Sunday, man. It's going to be a great pay-per-view Sunday. Looking forward to it. I mean, you can't go wrong. You just can't. But they can't bomb this, right? This won't bomb. No, of course not. Yeah, some of the top stars, they brought in everybody for this. We get to see Kurt Angle. Get to see Shane O'Mac. They've had a rivalry for almost 20 years. Shinsuke Nakamura, Bobby Roode finally getting into the mix. John Cena, he's back. And, of course, Triple H being that fifth man. One thing we didn't talk about, well, Jason Jordan trying to be a hero. Maybe we'll talk about that Sunday with Coder. Is Jason Jordan going to try to be a hero? It's very interesting. So many things to talk about coming up. We're going to have a very special show, hopefully coming up this Sunday. We'll let you guys know when it is. Sometimes, now, listen, they're going to have a 2-hour kickoff presentation. So that means that sometimes when they do that, we usually have a post-Survivor Series show. Now, when we only have the 1-hour kickoff for some of the basic pay-per-views, we usually like to do a show, obviously, before that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have to remind you one more time that when this show goes off the air, and if you listened earlier in the show, I do apologize. We had some difficulty with Coder calling in. Now, of course, I'm just going to blame Coder. But this show goes on demand, available on iTunes, Google Play, Spreaker, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. We do the show every Tuesday and Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Anytime throughout the week, you guys want to leave a voicemail, leave a text message with a concern, a comment, you want to air stuff out, 844-627-3352. Also, do me a solid, try to follow us on Twitter, because that's how we spread the great information about the show. We love just to have conversations about wrestling. That's it. No screaming, no yelling, just talking for the most part. All information you need, once again, go to thewrestlingmorningshow.com. It's a very simple website. Kind of tells you where to find a lot of stuff. Also, links to all our on-demand services. I want to thank all the great people that I interact with on Twitter. It's a great wrestling community out there, and I appreciate you guys as we live tweet every Monday, every Tuesday, and, of course, for the pay-per-view coming up this Sunday. Well, we'll talk this Sunday. I'll keep you guys posted via the Twitter. So everybody listening here in the States and, of course, around the world, thank you so much, and be good.